Franklin. Some of you have known of her. She is a national treasure as a scientist and a pacifist and a feminist, and somebody who's right at the moment pretty worried about the state of our democracy. I was trying to think when I first met you, but she as some of my team have said to Ursula, that I only quote her about 1,000 times a week, and that particularly on good governance, having to be fair, transparent, and taking people seriously, and but also about how you just get better results if policymakers can have slightly more flattened structures and inclusive decision making. And we've and the story I tell about you doing the professional development day, I think that probably anybody anywhere near me could tell it like 105 times. But it is it was a great treat for me in Millennium Year when I decided that we ought to have an essay writing contest, and Ursula's effect had already been profound on the role of the citizen in our democracy. And so we asked the students in grade 10 across the riding to write an essay on the role of the citizen in our democracy and the effect of the internet on our democracy. And then we took the 10 best essays to dinner with Ursula, as she then grilled them all on where they were getting their news and whether they were reading online Le Monde Diplomatique, The Guardian. She wanted to make sure they weren't getting their news from CNN only. She, I think, quite surprised them all in terms of how much she understood that the information that you get and the newer and better information actually affected our role as citizens and our ability to do the critical appraisal it takes. And that democracy only works when citizens are paying attention and getting good information. So whenever I'm in trouble, I go to tea with Ursula, and she puts the titanium back in my spine and sends me out back into the ring. But sometimes we worry together, and so I think the last time I went for tea with Ursula, she explained to me about the Quaker tradition of scrupling, and that I didn't actually know at the time was a verb, and so maybe we'll take it from there, that Ursula will give a small tutorial on the scrupling exercise, and then the subject that she thinks the Canadians should be scrupling on, which is the urgent concern of the erosion of our democracy in Canada.
Well, if you now think I'm a fake, you are perfectly upright and correct. I'm actually somewhat a figment of Carolyn's imagination. But be that what it may, we don't have that much time. Be critical. Don't think that I know it all. What I might bring to you is another view, a view from another corner. That corner is defined by a number of components. One is I grew up in Nazi Germany with a Jewish mother and have the keenest of a very old German family. And I have the keenest imprint anyone can have of that feeling of what I at that time felt was failed citizenship. Why didn't they speak out when my parents, when I, were for no reason except a fictitious bloodline, not only deprived of our citizenship, but put through incredible that, having survived that, has left me with a moral mortgage. Why didn't I, like so many of my mother's family, die in the camp? What does it mean to have survived that? And that gives you a mortgage that in many ways you cannot discharge. It is there, and again, you feel you have to speak, that nobody ever has to go through all this again. So that has defined me as a Canadian. I'm an academic, so my tool is thought. I'm a woman, so my approach is feminist, and I'm a citizen of this country, but also of Toronto. So from that comes a point of view, something which one would call a standpoint. Where you stand defines what you see and how you see it. What's in the foreground, what's in the background. And what is in the foreground for me is that this is a good country and its citizens deserve to be treated with respect. I don't quite share with Carolyn's view that it is citizens' participation that hampers democracy. I would rather think it is a response to citizens' participation that hampers democracy. If I could put the letters that my friends, now with capital F, as Quakers, or the members of any progressive community have written, and Fiona will have a similar shelf of a similar rank, that were not answered or considered trivial. If these shelves were shorter, democracy would be an awful lot better. So, what does one do when you are good arguments? And ours often are very good arguments, especially in hindsight, are not followed. When what we said about anything from nuclear energy to free trade actually turned out to be right. But do you do that? And that's where that scruple business comes in. Quakers have been, among many others, in the past deeply disturbed about slavery and about war. And at the time when there was a resonance to the fact that slavery, in principle, is wrong, one of the prominent Quakers in the States, John Woolman, traveled around to talk to people. Well, if you feel as I do that this is wrong, what are we going to do about it? And the argument is not being a good slaveholder, being a bad slaveholder, but making that basic stand. It is wrong to own other people. And of course the world is full of problems. There will be problems for the slaves, there will be problems for the slaveholders. We'd better get together and, as John Woolman said, scruple about it, because it's not my problem or your problem, it's our problem.